Politically incorrect English. This means words that are maybe not the best choice to be using because they can confuse people, or they are just flat out inaccurate, or people might actually get upset. But sometimes these words just aren't accurate enough. They just don't explain what you think you're explaining. So let's give you some examples. Indians. I've heard a lot of my students use this word and phrase. My students from Mexico and Brazil like to use this word a lot. But we don't call them Indians anymore. Indians come from India. Don't call them East Indians. I don't like that either. There's no West India or West Indians. Indians are people from India. That's a country. That's a nation. The original peoples of North America and South America, we like to call them First Nations. There's many groups. There's possibly 1,000 different groups. So we just call them a very general word, First Nations, not First Natives. I've heard some of my Canadian high school students call them this. First Natives means there's like 5 or 6, and there's not. There's a million First Nations people in Canada. Queer. This one comes from one of those great Instagram posts, 7 synonyms for strange. I think these are wonderful posts. They're great ways to give you very quick alternatives to say things like strange. But one choice was queer. And I think whoever posted this just Googled synonyms for strange because this one isn't it. It used to be, but now queer means gay. It's a term used by the gay community. They use it for themselves and only to describe themselves. We cannot use this for them. And this is where things get challenging. The true politically correct phrase to describe the gay community is LGBTQ2+. That's kind of long. That stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, and two-spirited. Oh, I forgot that last one. That one's a hard one. I think this is where things are getting challenging with political correctness. The phrase is just too long. We should probably call them something else like people. People that you meet. That sounds better. But I'm sure they want a stronger identity, so they want to call themselves whatever they want, and that's their right. But queer doesn't mean strange anymore. Special. Special doesn't mean what you think it means. Special used to mean unique or different in a positive way, but now special kind of means slow, or you need extra help at school. It's used for young people, children. If they have true learning disabilities, we might call them special. But that's a really vague and inaccurate term to use for anyone now. And it's a boring adjective. Don't use special for anyone or anything anymore. Too boring. All right, something truly politically incorrect. Wuhan Virus. Thank you, Donald Trump, for this wonderful phrase. The Americans want to call the new virus Wuhan Virus. That's a bad idea. Yes, it probably does come from Wuhan, which is in China, but that's not a reason to call it that. And let me give you an example. 100 years ago, there was another pandemic. It was called the Spanish flu, 1918 to 1920. Why was it called the Spanish flu? I have no freaking idea why. Because it didn't come from Spain. It may have come from the United States. That's at least what I saw when I searched online. Spanish people were attacked and harassed, and a lot of people had negative feelings toward the Spanish people, even though it didn't come from there. All right, let's keep talking about the pandemic. Coronavirus. This is not the best word to use just because it's flat out inaccurate. There have been many coronaviruses. The Spanish flu was a coronavirus. SARS and MERS, those were coronaviruses. The flu, sometimes called influenza, that's a coronavirus. And the new one, which is COVID-19, the co and the vid, or the COVID, actually stands for coronavirus. The D stands for disease. And then 2019, that's when they discovered the virus. So that's why we call it COVID-19. That's the name of the new disease, not just the coronavirus. That's the incorrect article to be using. The. It should be a. COVID-19 is a coronavirus. All right, let's end with something that is just flat out nonsense. I got a comment the other day from a student asking about the IELTS test, the IELTS listening section. And he asked about, how do I solve the MCQ? I didn't know what MCQ was, so I asked, question mark. And then he said, how do I solve the MCQ section of listening? Still was confused, so I had to Google search it. Multiple choice questions. Now that makes sense. The IELTS test does have some multiple choice questions on the test. Not that many, 5 or 6. Some tests do use multiple choice almost for the whole thing, but that's really important to get that phrase correct, multiple choice question, especially when you're studying for a test like IELTS or TOEIC or TOEFL, any of the other big tests that are out there. There's power in these words. There's power in being specific, sometimes power in being politically correct, not because you'll just be safe and you won't offend people, but you'll actually be more specific and more accurate. Don't say Indians, don't say queer, don't say special, don't say Wuhan virus, don't say coronavirus, don't say MCQ. Never heard of that one. Who made that crap up?